Welcome to I Told My Story channel. I'm Aaron. My mom was once again struggling with bills in the kitchen. The moment I sat down at the table, the tension on her face caught my eye immediately. My stepfather, Mark, was engrossed in his phone, staring at the screen without even looking up. With a sigh, my mom began to speak. "Mark, the bills are piling up again. Rent, utilities, credit cards. What are we going to do?" Without lifting his eyes from his phone, Mark replied lazily, "Don't worry, I'm definitely going to make big money from the stock market this month. We'll be fine soon." Looking exhausted, my mom responded, "Enough already. Don't you think it's time to get a real job?" Mark suddenly turned to me with a mocking look. "Look at your son. He spends all day drawing, but he doesn't earn a single penny." His words stung. I immediately retorted, "I'm going to make my own money and go to college." "You'll see." Mark smirked sarcastically and shook his head. "Oh, sure. You're going to be the next Picasso, aren't you?" After finishing high school, I was preparing for college while still drawing. Mark had entered our lives 2 years ago, and since then, all he ever said was, "I'm going to make big money from the stock market." While constantly borrowing money from my mom, she always held out hope that maybe this time would be different, but his promises always turned out empty. One day, while I was sketching in my room, Mark appeared at the door. Glancing at me, he asked, "What are you doing? Can I take a look?" "Sure, go ahead," I said. As I continued working on the canvas, Mark leaned in to examine my painting. After carefully looking, he said, "You're actually not bad." Then, with a pleased expression, he added, "I have a friend who owns an art gallery. If you want, we can sell these paintings to him. It could help you save up for college." I was surprised. "How much do you think they're worth?" "I have no idea," I said. Mark quickly pulled out his phone. "Let me call my friend and find out." He took a photo of my painting and left the room. About half an hour later, he returned with a satisfied look in his face. "My friend said he can pay $100 for each one, and in cash," he added. Although $100 seemed a bit low, it looked like a good opportunity to start saving my own money. What did I have to lose? "All right, deal." I agreed. Mark eagerly continued, "The more you paint, the more he'll buy. But there's one condition. You must not sign the paintings." Confused, I asked, "Why shouldn't I sign them?" "They want to put the gallery's name on them," he said dismissively. I didn't care much about the details as long as I got paid. "All right, that's fine," I agreed. That week, I managed to finish 3 paintings for the gallery. Mark took each one to his gallery friend. We were having dinner in the kitchen when Mark reached into his pocket and handed me $300. "Here you go. This is your payment for the week," he said. Excitedly, I took the money. "Thank you so much, Mark," I said. My mom's eyes lit up with joy. Looking at me, she said, "I can't believe it. You've started earning your own money? Your grandfather was a great artist too. I guess you're following in his footsteps." "Thank you so much, Mom," I replied. Her proud gaze warmed my heart. Then, turning to Mark, she said gratefully, "Thank you so much, darling, for supporting Aaron like this." Mark, with a modest smile, replied, "It's my pleasure. Helping him save for college makes me proud." Then, with a cheerful grin, he added, "By the way, I've started making money in the stock market. The shares I bought this week have skyrocketed. I'll take you both out for dinner this weekend." My mom's eyes welled up with tears. "I can't believe it! You finally made it!" she exclaimed, hugging Mark with joy. That weekend, Mark took us to a fancy restaurant. The table was filled with laughter. We hadn't felt this happy in a long time. At that moment, I realized maybe I had been unfairly judgmental towards Mark. Thanks to him, I was doing something I loved and making money from it. For the first time, everything seemed to be going well in my life. Months flew by. Every week I painted 3 artworks, and Mark would hand me $300 each weekend. I'd nearly saved up $10,000. One day, while my mom and I were having coffee in the kitchen, Mark called. "Hey, sweetheart, can you and Aaron come down to the front of the house? I have a great surprise for you," he said with excitement. My mom eagerly replied, "Of course, darling, we're coming right away," and hung up the phone. We quickly went downstairs. When we stepped outside, we saw Mark standing next to a huge SUV. My mom and I couldn't believe our eyes. We looked at each other in shock. Mark, with a proud smile, turned to me. "Aaron, how about this? Isn't it cool?" I responded in amazement. "Wow, it's really cool, but whose car is this?" Mark, with a smug smile, shrugged and said, "Who else? It's mine, of course." My mom's eyes sparkled with joy. "Oh, honey, I can't believe it. This SUV is incredible. I hope you enjoyed it," she said, hugging Mark with happiness. Laughing, Mark said, "Come on, get in. I'll take you on a tour around the city." A few days later, while I was painting in my room, my phone rang. It was my old friend, Tom. "How are you, buddy? We're getting together with the class at a cafe this weekend. Are you coming?" he asked. "Of course. I miss you guys. I'd love to come," I replied and asked him to send me the location. The cafe was a bit far from our town, but it would be worth it to see my friends. That weekend, I went to the cafe and had a great time chatting and laughing with my classmates. It was truly a fun day. After leaving the cafe, as I was walking towards the bus stop, I suddenly noticed my stepfather's SUV parked on the side of the road. Just as I was about to approach it, the SUV sped away. Confused, I tried calling Mark, but he didn't answer. At that moment, something across the street caught my eye. An art gallery. I had a strange feeling pulling me towards it. I walked in, and the gallery was empty. As I wandered around, examining the paintings on the walls, I suddenly came face to face with my own artworks. But each one had the label, Works of Mark, and was signed with his name. I was completely stunned. Just then, a woman appeared beside me. "Quite impressive, aren't they?" she said with a smile. Without taking my eyes off the paintings, I replied, "Yes, they are really impressive. I especially love that one." Nodding proudly, the woman said, "Great choice. That's one of Mark's masterpieces. He's so talented and productive." Trying to mask my shock, I asked, "Really? Amazing. So how much does this painting cost?" With a slightly amused tone, she replied, "It might seem a bit pricey, but I'll tell you anyway. It's $5,000. In that moment, everything became clear. Mark was buying my paintings for $100 each and reselling them for thousands of dollars, all under his own name. I'd been completely deceived. That week, I painted 3 more artworks and handed them to Mark, just as usual. But this time, I had a plan. I was going to follow him. As he excitedly left the house with the paintings, I quickly hailed a taxi and trailed him. Mark stopped at the same art gallery. I followed him inside. There, he was chatting with an elderly, well-dressed gentleman. Just as he was about to hand over the paintings, I stepped forward. "Hello, Mark." Mark's face turned ghostly pale when he saw me. Stuttering, he said, "Aaron, what are you doing here?" Locking eyes with him, I calmly replied, "I was curious where you've been selling my paintings all this time. Looks like I found out." The elderly gentleman turned to Mark in confusion. "Mr. Mark, who is this young man?" Mark quickly tried to cover it up. "Oh, this is my stepson, Aaron. He's preparing for college. He just came to visit." I interrupted him. "Yes, I am preparing for college and painting too. In fact, all the paintings in Mr. Mark's hands were done by me." The gentleman raised an eyebrow. "Aaron, I've been working with Mark for months. Now you're saying these paintings are yours? How can I believe that?" Mark immediately leaned in and whispered to the gentleman, "He's been under a lot of stress while preparing for college. He's seeing a psychologist. Please don't pay attention to what he's saying." But I remained calm and said, "There is a simple way to prove it. Please give us 2 canvases and some paint." The gentleman, both surprised and curious, agreed. Mark tried to object. Actually, I have another appointment at a different gallery." But the gentleman firmly insisted, "You only produce 3 paintings a week, Mr. Mark. There is a claim here. Let's settle it." They brought us canvases and paint. About an hour later, the gentleman asked, "Are you finished? Can I see your paintings?" I proudly lifted my canvas. The gentleman was amazed. Exceptional work, Aaron. Now, it was Mark's turn, but when we looked around, he was gone. He had fled, leaving behind nothing but a poorly scribbled canvas. The gentleman took a deep breath and, with a disappointed expression, said, "It seems we have both been deceived." I nodded in agreement. At that moment, Mark's entire facade had crumbled. As soon as I got home, I told my mom everything. At first, she couldn't believe that Mark would do something like this. But once she realized the extent of his betrayal, she never forgave him, and they divorced shortly after. Now, I'm working for the gallery owner, Mr. Henry. I get a 70% cut for every painting I sell. And for the first time in my life, I'm truly being rewarded for my hard work. As for my stepfather, he had to sell the SUV I helped him buy and tried his luck in the stock market again. And as you can guess, he lost everything. Everything. One day, there was a knock at the door. When I opened it, there stood Mark, his eyes filled with regret. "Aaron, I'm so sorry. I truly regret everything. I've lost it all again, and I'm in a tough spot. Please help me," he pleaded. I looked at him coldly and replied, I believe I know you. You're the famous artist, Mr. Mark, right? You can always make money by painting again," I said, and shut the door in his face. If you enjoyed my story, please subscribe to our channel and support us. See you next time.